I would like to thank everyone for being here. Our topic today will be discussed by this renowned expert, which is titled Sexual Harassment in Media Social. We decided to choose the topic so that it will explore the many people out there about how sexual harassment has increased these days. Sexual harassment is defined as unwelcome sexual advance, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. Before I start, I would like to introduce to you to our Minister of Communication and Multimedia, Prof. Dr. Normasan. How are you today, Doctor?
I'm doing fine today. Thank you for asking. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. The next panel is Dr. Cik Nur Syahira, Pakar Psychology in Hospital Bahagia. I heard that you have a call today. Are you alright?
Oh, yes, that's right. I'm getting better now.
Oh, that's really. Okay, let's move to another panel, which is a counselor from University Malaysia Kelantan, Miss Siti Safila. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah. Thank you too for inviting me to
You are
give a
welcome.
speech today.
Next to her is Zari Nazira, a social media user. And lastly, me myself, Nuri Izzah as a moderator for today. First of all, I have a question for Professor Maisara. What is the right course of action for someone who has sexually assaulted another person on social media?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Isa. Actually, there is no legal definition or law to protect victims against cyber harassment. For example, the Communication and Multimedia Act says that any comment that is malicious or which is annoying or insulting is potentially an offence. Meanwhile, the government is looking into the possibility to introduce new legislation or a parliamentary committee to curb misuse of social media, which, if left unaddressed, can cause the uncontrolled spread of hatred and extremist ideologies. It is time for such a system to be created to ensure the spread of false information or any form of sexual harassment to women or men on social media being so widespread that it will create discomfort and chaos and also may create a negative image for country. This is why I stress out the important legal that and other measures such as strengthening media professionalism, ethical journalism, and to push for the establishment of self-regulatory frameworks and mechanisms that are important to combat fake news and to handle the misuse of social media. This would not just encourage more mature and responsible journalism, but also enhance greater accountability and healthy checks and balance amongst media practitioners and their reports. For your information, there are several namely countries such as United Kingdom, Pakistan, and Singapore that had taken the same path to regulate or control this social media all over the world. The government will not ban social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, WeChat, and Twitter even temporarily in the event of crisis or terrorist attack. A survey by independent research firm Ipsos Global Advisor, which revealed that Malaysian asked for the government to temporarily close social media to curb the spread of fake news in time of crisis or terrorist attacks. The survey that was conducted between May 24 and June 7, involving nearly 20,000 respondents from 27 countries, found that 75% of Malaysian respondents agree that the government should shut down social media platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, WeChat, and Twitter during the crisis. This current issue is that many people have experienced or witnessed online harassment, but few seem to agree on what online harassment actually is, or even think that online threats should not be taken seriously. it is assumed that what happens online is not going to hurt you physically, because you don't have that physical interaction with your harasser, as sexual harassment mostly affects women and people view it as a woman issues. So here I want to remind all the media social users out there that they can lodge any report to the police and the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, which is MCMC, as a first step to address any misuse or dissemination of sensitive information on social media. So that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for the long explanation. The next question is for Ms. Shahira. I would like to know how sexual harassment can affect mental health.
Thank you for the questions, Ms. Liza. So, how sexual harassment affects on our mental health? First, sexual harassment is a stressor that is associated with increased depressive symptoms. Quantitative results show that men or women who experience more in sexual harassment have significantly higher level of depressed mood. Moreover, sexual harassment in early in the career has long-term effect on depressive symptoms on adulthood. Next is sexual harassment also sometimes sexual harassment register as a trauma and it's difficult for them to deal with it. So what literally happened is their body start to become overwhelming, or we call it as somatizing. The mental health becomes so overwhelmed and one can press it to the point of saying, I have been traumatized or I am depressed. Essentially, it's a kind of a denial that when they experience for a long state can turn into a physical symptoms. My third point is the victims can suffer from anxiety that is persistent, seemingly uncontrollable and overwhelming. When anxiety interferes with daily activities, you may have an anxiety disorder. My next point is I can say that sexual harassment can devastate their self-esteem and sense of self-worth as a professional. In their early career, they may doubt their ability and wonder if they are hired. They weren't hired because, and they will wonder if they weren't hired only because of their sexual value, and they will question their achievements. My last point is sexual harassment will lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, which is an anxiety disorder that can result from a traumatic event. And of course, sexual harassment is a big traumatic event. The victims might experience uncharacteristic feelings such as fear, stress, anxiety, and nervousness. These feelings are extreme and can cause them to feel constantly in danger and make it difficult to function in everyday life. So to ending my speech, I can conclude that sexual harassment is a very dangerous to our mental health, and these effects aren't always easy to deal, but with the good right help and support, they can be managed. So my advice is, if you are one of the sexual harassment victims, please make a report and take an actions, because this case is not a small case. This case is a very dangerous and on your mental health. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the information, Doctor. We can see that someone who has experience with sexual harassment can get sick not just physically but mentally as well. It just shows how bad the issue is. Ms. Shafila, as a counselor, what do you think about social media can make things worse?
Thank you to Ms. Moderator. In my opinion, sexual harassment can be incredibly difficult and often traumatic experience. Sexual harassment is a emotionally changed act, and the rest of the social media only serve to further complicated matter. The explosive growth of the social media only lead to the intensity where the sexual harassment becomes worse and can be happen to everyone in every time, because social media do not have any border to stop that happen. The internet only provide a new medium and opportunity to the sexual harassment to occur. The platform like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter only give everyone a tool to post potentially sexual comment, picture, or to cyberbully person they want. The popularity of the website enable to the sexual harassment to continually happen. The sexual harassment through the media social can come from people around us, such as from friend, workmate, or from classmate. It also can come from the stranger. Sending the sexual tag, photo, and disturb them with a call to talk about the sexual thing also one of the sexual harassment. For your information, sexual harassment is one of the factors that lead to the increasing case of the mental health issue in Malaysia. And usually, the victims that come to see me, they often show the symptoms of the mental problem like stress, trauma, anxiety, and depression. They also be less productive in their life, and that impact to their career and their study, especially for the student. And from my observation, the victim of coming from the teenager and student, especially from women, because they are closer to the internet and they are still young. They always want try a new thing without thinking that their decision can give the impact to their life. So when this situation happen to them, they cannot handle this situation very well and will feel the pressure. So they can easily get the mental problem. And we has a counselor, psychologist, and government, also the user. We have to work together to prevent the sexual harassment through the media social become worse. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Social media can be really scary if we not use it properly. Thank you so much for such a useful explanation. My last question is for social media user Zarina Zira. Have you ever experienced any social harassment, or maybe it happened to someone close to you?
Okay, the first case that was very close with me is my niece. She suffered from epilepsy, and her classmates taunted her for that. So this in-school bullying continued through the online platform. They keep sending her an abusive and hurtful message, and they would often tell her to kill herself because of her condition. And at one point, a classmate left her a voicemail saying that I hope you died. And then the other case was happened near my neighborhood. A 10-year-old Ashlyn was bullied so much until she begged her mom to homeschool her. She wanted an escape from the horrible children at the school, but her mom refused her. So the bullying continued at home through the social media. And then Ashlyn was called fat and ugly at first, and then people and then it turned into people calling her a slut long before she even understood the meaning of the word. And then when she had her hair cut because she wanted to feel good about herself. The name calling changed to pretty boy. So this isn't just a story of cyberbullying, but the ending. Ashlyn's sister was the one to find her hanging in her closet by a scarf. So based on their stories, I've become so carefully so that it won't happen to me.
Wow, that was pretty offensive. I'm so sorry for them. Thank you, Ms. Zarin, for sharing it with us. From all the explanation that we have heard, now we all know how social media can be a source of sexual harassment. Okay, now let's move off to Q&A part. Ms. Zarin, I have a question for you. As a parent, what would you do if your child is being harassed online?
Okay, thank you for the question, Miss Isa. Okay, firstly, you have to take care of your child seriously by talking with and listen to what they have to say. Make them feel safe having this conversation with you. If possible, you can block the bully on all social media accounts, and then you can contact their school because nowadays many schools have anti-bullying practices in place that will help your child to deal with the online harassment from the fellow student. And then most of social media sites such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Snapchat has published guidelines that state what is and is not okay to be posted on their sites. So you can find these guidelines by looking for pages on terms and conditions, and then these sites also have a mechanism for reporting and abuse of these guidelines. So when making a complaint, you have to include a screenshot of the comment as an evidence when you submit your report. So and then lastly, if you feel you are in immediate danger, please contact the local police.
Thank you, Ms. Zarin. Your tips can be useful for us, especially for someone who is in this kind of situation. Okay, my last question is for Ms. Shafila. In your opinion, what steps can be taken to prevent this sexual harassment from happening?
Thank you for the question, Miss Moderator. Actually, it's a good question because if everyone know the step how to prevent this sexual harassment through the media social, it can decrease the case of the mental health issue in Malaysia. And from my opinion, the step that can we take is to prevent this sexual harassment is to the user. You must to think before post something in your social media, and do not post something that can trigger everyone or someone to give the insulting comment in your picture or your video. And you should not post something that indecent in your social media. And the second step is for the person who become a victim of this sexual harassment through the media social, you have to brief and come in front and give the and make a report to the police or to the government for them take the further action to that person. And before do the report, you must have the evidence that can prove that person give the sexual comment or sexual harassment to you in social media. And you can screenshot the comment or the text that that person give to you. And you also can become as an example for the another victim to brief and to report their case to the police. And the last step is, I think, from my perspective as a counselor, I recommend to the government to make a specific law that specific law about the sexual harassment in media social or in Malaysia. and because the sexual harassment become worse from day to day, and and the government have to take the serious action to the person who give the sexual harassment in media social or in public. So that is my opinion, and we can use this step to prevent the sexual harassment become worse. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the explanation. Social media has really played an important role. It can be a source of knowledge, but it can also get worse if we will not use it in a proper way. Alright, that's all from us. Thank you for watching. See you
That's all
soon.
from us. Thank you.
Welcome
Bye-bye.
and bye.